Hi, I'm Jerry Brinkley, and this is the Boyles Law Project. My partner is Joseph Carpenter. Additional facts. Some facts I got listed here is Boyle used a J-shaped glass tube and mercury to study how air pressure affects volume, leading to the formulation of Boyle's Law. He was among the first to quantify gas behavior using experiments rather than just observations. Some other work studied properties of air, vacuums, and gases in multiple experiments. Investigated how air supports combustion and life, laying the groundwork for later discoveries in chemistry and biology. Some collabs with other scientists that he worked with was he worked closely with scientists in the Royal Society of London. His work influenced later scientists like Charles Augustin de Coulomb and James Clerk Maxwell, who expanded understanding forces and gases. Related to Boyle's law, Boyle's work is still used today in engineering, chemistry, and physics whenever gas behavior is studied. Additional interesting facts. I was surprised to learn that Boyle discovered the relationship between pressure and volume using such simple tools like a J-shaped tube in mercury. It was astonishing that his experiments from the 1600s are still relevant today, influencing everything from scuba diving to respiratory and medicine. Uh, what I learned compared to my expectations, I thought Boyle's law would just be basic formula, but I learned that it was grounded in careful experiments and observation. I also realized how scientific methods and precise measurements were key even centuries ago. Uh, what I would investigate further is how combining Boyle's law and other gas laws, like the Charles law, models more complex situations. Historical study of how Boyle's law methods influence later scientists and modern physics experiments. Overall summary, how it went, the project was engaging and allowed us to explore both the history and math behind Boyle's law. Most important takeaway was realizing that Boyle's experiments were carefully measured and reproducible, which is why his law is still relevant today. Easiest part, working with the understanding and cooperative partner made discussion and slide creation flow naturally, especially during Zoom meetings. Hardest part was summarizing complex historical experiments in a way that is simple, clear, and engaging for the slides that we gave. Most surprising is I was amazed on how the experimental methods from centuries ago still impact physics, chemistry, and engineering today. Some relevant sources. Sources I used in the research is the Khan Academy, their website, and they just have a ton of information, not just on Boyle's law, but a lot of all the different laws, Charles law, all that. How my sources was helpful. And I used the Britannicana, Britannicana, something like that. But how the source was helpful. The Khan Academy clear explanation of the law explained Boyle's law formula: pressure 1 times pressure times volume 1 equals to pressure 2 times volume 2, and the relationship between pressure and volume is simple, readable in terms. It provided visual diagrams showing graphs and diagrams of gas behaviors and containers, making it easier to visualize on how volume decreases as the pressure increases. I use the Kahan Academy to help me do slides 5, 7, 17, 22, and 35. How my source was helpful. This is for the Britannicana one. It gives me facts about the discovery of Boyle's law, clear definitions of the formula, and examples they give, making learning the topic much more easier. I used this website on slides 6, 18 through 21, 24, and 36. Very helpful sources.
Alright. Hello, my name is Joseph. This is me doing my part E. For additional fact, during Robert Boyle's young days and during his education, he went on a tour with his brother and their tutor, Isaac Macumbis. They toured their continent. They're in Britain, Europe, so like that whole area. I believe they didn't just stay there, they toured the continent. And that's what they did for education between the years 1639 and 1642. I wish I could just tour around while doing my education. That would have been awesome. But not only did Robert Boyle found the Boyles Law through the air pump experiment, that wasn't the only thing that he did and the only thing he published. In fact, that experiment came out with 42 other experiments that he did. And one we're going to use for example is that he discovered that air has weight, along with determining that a vacuum resists the transmission of sound. And this was stated from the Science History Institute website over their review of the book. And so the Boyles Law didn't come on its own. It came with 43 other experiments. And Robert Boyle have worked with Robert Hooke. There were some other scientists that he worked with, and Robert Hooke was the craftsman of the air pump. And Robert's time during Oxford, he met with people like John Locke, who showed him the study of the natural philosophy, and because of that, Rob joined a group of like-minded people like John Hooke over natural philosophy. So for additional interest, when I was studying into Boyle's biography, that it's shown that he was a science Christian. He was a Christian scientist, and more precisely, he identified as an Anglican Christian. I find this interesting because I am a Christian myself, and it's been off and on, but I do identify as a Christian. But someone who was a Christian who also was a scientist, that's not something that you will see often, but especially from the 1600s, I think. I might be completely wrong. Maybe it's more normal back then than it is now. But he tried to use his time as a scientist to try to prove God's existence. And this is very cool and completely unexpected from me. Because, when I went to go look him up, I was just expecting the typical thing, like, what he did, what was his age, when did he die, how did they find the thing that I'm looking for. I was expecting to see that. That's cool. And another thing that I discovered that I like, well, not really like, more like I need to keep that in mind, was scuba diving. And I discovered more about the punishment on the body, the more specific punishment that can happen to one's body from the pressure change in water. And I understand that it's very important to understand what can happen to one's body, and I should remember that and take precaution, because I am someone who has an interest in scuba diving. I would love to do that one day, but now that I know that I need to have precaution about it and do it. So the overall summary of the project is, I'm going to be honest, I didn't do as strong as I could have, as I would like. I have a very bad habit of treating this group. I didn't really treat it with higher priority. I was just like, I'm going to take care of this group. I like this group a lot more. And I don't know why, but I prioritized my other group over this one a lot more. And because of that, I had some trouble, as I will explain. But I will say, unlike my other project, this subject that I went over was much easier, and finding information related to my subject I'm doing, Boyles Law, and it was much easier to be able to find things to reach the requirement of the slides that I needed to do, especially like the scuba diving. That was real easy information to find, and the pressure volume relationship related to scuba diving. Now, like I said, the hardest part of this project for me, this group project, was my own time management. It was all on me, since I didn't give this group more priority than I should, between working full time and wanting to do my own thing, yada yada. And so I've gotten myself unnecessary stress, and I had to get help from my buddy over here. He had to help me with some part of it, and I should have been able to do it on my own. But the easiest thing about this group was the videos and the formula that was used. Because unlike my last group, my other group, I had a really hard time trying to find a formula, trying to think of a question. It was like a huge roadblock. But for this group, it was super simple, and it was very easy to think of with my partner. He was able to do it. And then the videos were very straightforward, and despite my own troubles, he knew how to make a video, I knew how to make a video, so that was just a real easy obstacle to get over. And so here's all my sources that I did. Now, the one I want to talk about are the Brintiatica Encyclopedia website. I completely butchered that, but I really love that website. I use this one right here for Robert Boyles. It's where I found like almost all my information for this project. They have so much information going on here, and a lot of it have linked to other information. And so it was just like I used this website to branch out to others if needed. And that's how I find all my information for Robert Boyles, for the air pump experiment that I did in my later slide. All of it came, most of it came from this website. But thank you so much.